And we're back for the third and final segment of this version of the DMZ America podcast. It's Friday, June 30th, 2023. I'm Scott Stantis coming to you from the right.
And I'm Ted Rall coming to you from the left.
So like I said, we are breaking down the Supreme Court decisions or opinions, one like packaging them together. But this is going to be a standalone, and then we're going to go on to a larger question. But the election rules, the independent state legislative theory. Now, those of you who don't know or have heard of this, I had not until this decision. Had you, Ted?
I had.
Oh,
because
you had.
This decision was anticipated, and I had read about this theory kicking around in right-wing legal circles.
Oh, so please hit us with that. Because, by the way, I hope your people are sitting down and you have something warm, because this will send a chill down your spine. Ted, take it away.
All right. So the independent state legislature theory or doctrine is a legal theory that says that the U.S. Constitution gives authority to regulate federal elections within any state to each state's elected lawmakers without any checks or balances from state courts, governors, or any other legislative body like a constitutional convention or commission. It has come up before the U.S. Supreme Court a number of times. The U.S. Supreme Court has always rejected this. This first appeared in legal documents in the Bush v. Gore Florida 2000 recount battle. So it was considered a fringe legal theory at the time. So the primary textual basis for ISL in the Constitution is from Article 1, Section 4, Clause 1, which goes, the times, places, and manner of holding elections for senators and representatives, here's the key part, shall be prescribed in each state by the legislature thereof. But the Congress may at any time, blah, 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 blah. So the ISL people say they also draw additional support from Article 2, Section 1, Clause 2, which says, each state shall appoint in such manner, this is the important part, as the legislature thereof may direct a number of electors equal to the whole number of senators. And, this is for the Electoral College. So basically the interpretation of the theory is that the states therefore have they can switch out the electors like Trump wanted to do after he lost to Biden in 2020. They can run elections any way they want. There was this in the most recent ruling, which is a case called Moore v. Harper. This is a key ISL doctrine case. And basically it relates to North Carolina's legislative districts. Basically, they tried to go really, really far in gerrymandering and ignore things like the Voting Rights Act and all these other federal laws. But they basically were like, we can redistrict any way we fucking want because we're the North Carolina legislature and we have independence to run our elections our way. Now, it's not completely insane because states do run all of our elections, right? So that's the Constitution. What the issue though is that they can run them administratively any way they want, but they can't run them extra legally any way they want. In other words, they can't ignore federal law. So let's say federal law required that every delegate to every electoral college representative delegate had to have a last name that begins with R. And you could see why one would want that. That would be federal law. Well, North Carolina or Ohio or Delaware or whatever, they couldn't say, oh, well, we are going to ignore that dictate and send people who don't comply with that. What they can run things their way, but they can't ignore federal law. So it's a subtle distinction, but it's an important one.
Right. And so, effectively, ISL was brought forward again because of Trump's 2020, election fiasco when they wanted to say, well, North Carolina, we voted for Biden, but, the electors don't have to abide by that. That's crazy talk. this is terrifying. I was unaware of it. And I weirdly, I tend to read right-wing legal stuff. And the fact that this was shot down, you said the court has shot it down several times before. So that's a good thing. It seems to me, because I would not want the state legislature of, say, Alabama, to say, boy, those pesky black people. I really don't think they need to have their votes counted, do they? I mean, really?
Right.
You could, I mean, the ability.
By the way, this is an interesting case because it's unlike the other ones that was not divided along partisan lines at all. The majority was John Roberts with the three liberals, Sotomayor, Kagan, and Jackson, Barrett, and Kagan and Jackson, but also Kavanaugh and Barrett also joined. So
the dissent was Alito and Thomas, of course,
and Gorsuch.
Okay, why not? I mean, my God, they could not. I mean, oh my God, because there's a weirdness. Scalia was kind of the god of the right wing legislative and legal movement, right? To intellectualize really, really bad ideas, very much like Barr, who was a former attorney general, when he talked about the I don't know what you'd call it, Ted. Was it the infallibility of the executive, where because the president does it?
The theory of the unitary executive.
Yes, which is that because he's the executive, he can break no laws.
Yeah, that's right.
It's absurd. It is preposterous.
Well, it's completely in contrast. It's in direct contradiction to the fundamental structure of the federal Constitution, which creates the three branches of government, right?
Now,
it's like, which are supposed to be all equal.
Back when I was my political education, we all began in our teens, and I was really fascinated by this. Is back in the 70s, mid to late 70s, in the legal ideals of conservatism were not this. I mean, this is like I hate myself for hating this because I used to love this stuff and like it was fascinating to me, and I was sold. I'm thinking, yeah, that actually makes a lot of sense. This is batshit crazy, Ted. This is just like, it goes back to the 1850s. You can have poll taxes. You can have literacy tests. You can have, any goddamn. And that's what this, and clearly, I mean, that's what this is leaning towards. I'm like, what the fuck? It's so. It's hard. It's hard. Been a hard couple of years for me, Ted.
Don't worry, it gets better. It gets better, Scott.
So you say. So I say we're packaging these up. There's not another decision really that we want to discuss, but a bigger issue, and it was brought up in our count and in the center clip, the issue of the day, and I think it's worth you and I talking about the legacy of the Trump appointments and so on. All of his appointments were young people, relatively speaking, 40s, early 50s. They're going to be there for a long fucking time. I mean, what are we going to see now over the next decade? I mean, these decisions should surprise absolutely nobody. Absolutely nobody. Trump said he was going to appoint these kinds of judges. He did. These judges said they're going to make these kinds of decisions. They have. I think going forward, we can look at a minimum of a decade. Now, I'm going to say something, Ted, I have never said in public, ever. And I'm going to, but I like a liberal Supreme Court.
Whoa.
And I'll tell you why. Because
you're not going to have one before you die.
No, when I'm sipping wine in the south of France in the Rall Stantis compound. The next
which will be heavily armed and protected by a fleet of flamethrower drones.
Count on it, people.
In case any of you assholes is thinking of coming to look for us.
But what you get from a liberal court is social progress, but you also get much more libertarian approaches to social issues. You can't discriminate against people because they're different color than you, or they speak a different language, or they have a different sexual preference than you. I like that. That to me added balance to a conservative legislative and executive side. And Ted will tell you that the legislative and executive sides have been conservative for the last generation minimum. So there, I'm out there, folks.
Well, the problem really from like maybe now I was going to say our point of view though, with this Supreme Court is that unfortunately, they are making a lot of decisions that are not really wrong. You know what I mean? As discussed here. So for example, the Roe v. Wade was some shitty law.
Yes.
And so shitty law gets overturned. There's a cliche in legal circles, bad facts make bad law. What that means is that if you have really extreme, egregious behavior and it gets called out, it can result in an extreme case law that results from that. What happened today is arguably that with affirmative action. If schools like Harvard and University of North Carolina hadn't been handling affirmative action in such a clumsy way, the court wouldn't have been able to overturn it as easily. The problem here is it's not like Bush v. Gore. That's a bad decision. You can look at that and say, you guys shouldn't have even accepted this case. You had no business taking this case, and you shouldn't have ruled on it the way you did. So like, but the point is, it's like, I read the liberal dissents on these decisions, and you read the one, the first one that we talked about not affirmative action, the other college one, the student loan forgiveness one, and you said it was really poorly reasoned. Well, the dissents in the affirmative action were also really just kind of based on emotion, not on case law. It was just kind of like, well, what about Black people? And then there's a long discussion of like the long history of racism at the University of North Carolina, how there are still buildings named after slave owners and other assholes on the campus, and how they had had a long legacy of discriminating against Blacks because it was in the South. And I'm like, all that's fine, but that's not addressing the simple questions, the legal questions that are the constitutional questions that were at stake. I mean, there's literally never a case made that under the Constitution as it currently stands, affirmative action is constitutional, and that it does not violate the Equal Protection Clause. Of course it does. It had to. And so I guess my point is, I don't know if what we really need is a liberal Supreme Court. I think what we really need is a liberal Congress and a liberal to pass some strong, legal protections for things like abortion, so that women have a right to choose. I mean, a lot of these matters would not be up. There is a legislative remedy here. If we want affirmative action, Congress can take steps for class-based affirmative action that would codify it. Roe v. Wade could be codified, or could have been codified. Still could be. So, I mean, obviously we need a different Congress, but I think there's been, the left in this country has become they're dependent on the judiciary as a crutch, because they've given up on their ability to take control, to seize power in the legislative and executive branches. They just don't dream of like another FDR. But tell me,
I think they are wrong. But you tell me, Ted, why are they so afraid of their own ideas? Why, for instance, Roe v. Wade? They could have codified it 40 years. At any point, they could have codified this. I think.
Well, not at any point, but it's at various points.
Oh, okay. Yeah. But my point here is, like I said, they could have codified it numerous times, and they didn't, because they were afraid that they'd be shellacked with it at election time.
That was part of it. And then part of it was then there was hubris. They thought it'll never be overturned. It's settled law. And I think this is like really my cynical side. They've been raising money on it. like my mom used to get these mailers from the Democratic Party, like, woman's right to choose is in danger. Make sure you donate to Rall, donate to the Democratic
Right.
Party, to protect a woman's right to choose, to make sure that the Supreme Court doesn't go full right wing, which in fairness, the fear mongering turned out to be accurate, because that's
Yeah.
exactly what happened. I guess my mom should have sent more money, but like the point, but they've been fun. But the thing is, they don't really care, because, win or lose, they fundraise, and they're okay. And, their wives can get an abortion if they need one. So they don't give a shit. I mean, it's not like this, the Democratic Party does not care about democratic ideas. It cares about the Democratic Party.
Okay, so but the Republican Party cares about ideas, and they institute them, and they appoint conservative judges who, knock stuff down that people like.
They sure do.
So that comes back to my original question: why do the Democrats seem to be afraid of their own ideas? And I understand the practical political side you just mentioned. I think that's absolutely true. I've always said that on a myriad of issues, if you asked one side if they could push a button and it would cure the problem, they'd never push the button, because they make billions of dollars. And you may be right about the abortion issue as well. Now they're raising tens and hundreds of millions of dollars off of this one issue.
Mm-hmm.
You kind of wish that, I don't know, people would have the courage of their convictions and actually, do what they're supposed to do.
Oh, funny man.
I'm just silly little man with silly little ideals.
Like a bunny. like a fuzzy brown bunny.
Oh man. So yeah, for 10 years, for a decade, well, even more than a decade, right? Because if they're in their 50s and they're going to keep doing their thing into their 80s.
Yeah. So,
unbelievable. And
or if you're like Biden into your 90s.
Yeah. Or shit, why not? Why not the hundreds? Why not just go? They say, scientists said that the person who's going to live to be 150 has already been born.
No way. Is that true?
He could be president. He could be the
he may be president now.
He could be the current president.
Yeah, he could be. Well, you know that like what's going to happen is the American presidency is always a study of constant entropy, always getting worse. So Hunter is obviously going to be our next president. He's a man of the people. Look, he's a man of the people.
Yeah.
Not proud. He mixes with a wide variety of socioeconomic people. he has a very up close understanding of the opioid pandemic.
Yes, he does. Yes, he does.
I'm beginning to see Hunter for president here.
Yeah, why the hell not?
Also, he's run his own business, so he has that business experience. He's been selling his father.
Selling his father in a storefront out of Pennsylvania,
in
out of Scranton. Oh man. Okay. Well, okay. So I think we covered all of the Supreme Court G spots here. So I think we're good. So
all right, then.
Ted, where can we see your stuff if we want to see all things Ted?
You could go to Rall.com. You can go to whowhatwhy.org on Saturdays, in particular, SputnikNews.com on Tuesdays and Thursdays usually. And you can listen to my radio show. Oh, don't forget to listen to both Scott and I on Centerclip, the app. It's free. It's not a freemium thing yet. Will be, but not yet. And then also you can check out my radio show, The Final Countdown, Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. to 12 noon Eastern time. You can also stream it on Rumble, even if it's not live. So just go to Rumble or just Google The Final Countdown on Sputnik News.
I watched you last time on Rumble. Last time I was on, it was great.
Thank you.
Yeah, that you and your co-host Manila Chan,
and you can comment. You can comment throughout the feed.
Do you jump in on that?
Sometimes.
I didn't see you. Okay.
I mean, the thing is, I'm giving talk radio, so it's hard to. Manila's better about that than I am. She chimes in more than I do, but I'm kind of like trying to concentrate on what I'm supposed to say. Because
silly boy.
Yeah, I know.
So if you want to see my stuff, thanks for asking, Ted. You can
Oh,
go
yeah.
to
Sorry.
go to
Rude.
gocomics.com.
Asshole.
Gocomics.com/prickly city
Mm.
and see my comic strip. Go to gocomics.com/Scott Stantis, see my editorial cartoons. You can go to the Chicago Tribune where I draw and see a gallery of my work there. And as Ted mentioned, go to Center Clip, free app. It's getting really interesting. Ted just posted something. I was able to respond to it. I
was
actually
good.
agreed with what he said. It's growing. It's really interesting. I'm very excited by this. So, Center Clip, check it out, man. That does it for us here at the DMZ America podcast. Anything else you want to add, Ted, before we skedaddle?
No, not really.
All right. Well,
We're
there you
good.
go. Okay. Well, I'm done too. So until next
All right.
time.
Bye, everyone.
Ciao.
Have a good 4th of July.
Yeah, don't blow anything up. Don't blow any pieces of you off.
No, don't do that. But if do stay safe when you want to start that fire with fireworks. Always use a flamethrower drone.
The safest possible way. Flamethrower. Ask for it by name. We'll see you next time. Bye,
Especially
guys.
for children.
Bye.